All right, my next guest says that President Obama is running this nation into the ground, leading the most destructive administration in our nation's history. Author and columnist David Limbaugh is exposing what he says are the lies, narcissism, and bullying at the heart of this administration, and it's all chronicled in a brand new book, Crimes Against Liberty, an indictment of President Barack Obama. Joining me now is the one and only, my friend, attorney David Limbaugh. How are you?
Good. How are you?
First of all, it's not just because we've been friends a long time. This is the defining book for the election.
Thank you.
This is an indictment against Obama. You say early in the book, this book is about a young presidency, meaning Obama's presidency, but already the most destructive in American history.
Yes.
Explain.
I hate to be melodramatic or hyperbolic, but I really believe that the nation's at a turning point. We either go full-blown toward socialism, Marxism, statism, or we turn back and restore our founding principles. This upcoming election in November will tell the tale. And I wanted to write this book to do my part to explore Obama's agenda, how destructive it has been for America, and to analyze his personality traits and how those two things coincide to create a combustible, devastating combination that will turn America upside down, bankrupt us, make us vulnerable to enemies. And I really think we've got to do something, and I believe this book gives ammunition for people who want to go out and convince their neighbors not to vote for this guy.
You know, you do a lot of things, and you do analyze the psychology behind the president a lot. I've always felt that he was rooted in radical ideology. But you also point out something, and you say things that I know you're going to get hammered on.
Yeah.
But I think are true.
Yes.
I do believe the president has been purposely misleading the American people. Look at how he argued the immigration law. Look at how he argued health care. And you chronicle all of this.
Yes.
When you look at the big picture, why is the media not putting this all together?
Well, the media is, as Rush talks about, they're the state-run media. They're ideological now, and they're not news reporters. And they're in favor of Obama's agenda, and so they're going to disregard the kinds of things he does. But, Sean, this is not the America I grew up in. This is a guy who's taken over private companies. This is a guy who, contravening the rule of law, allocates and pledges $140 billion to the IMF when Congress specifically said, you cannot do that without our authority. And he said, with an Orwellian argument, this is foreign policy. I can divert $140 billion to the IMF for wealth redistribution in third world countries. Nothing to do with what the IMF was originally even set up for. He can go after Gerald Walton, who was an IG for AmeriCorps, because he uncovered fraud on the part of Obama's friends. And so he fires him without notice in total contravention of the rule of law there.
You know, but what's interesting to me is this is really chapter and verse about Obama the man,
yes,
about the administration, about corruption, about cronyism. You know, you say that he's not only hyper-partisan, but he's narcissistic and he lies repeatedly.
Yes.
Now, whenever somebody, again, my years in the media, when you say that about the president, people get all worked up.
Yeah.
You know, how could you analyze him that way? I have found it to be true. What is it in the research that you did, which is exhaustive here, that proved it to you? Well,
I always felt it. I think you felt it ahead of time. We knew who he was, who he hung around with. He was extreme liberal. He had the record. He masqueraded as someone who is bipartisan, who is post-partisan, who is post-racial, post-grievance. And he was defrauding us when he was telling us who he is. He got into office and he quickly proved exactly who he is, the hyper-extremist liberal that we thought he was. And he's proceeded to implement the most radical agenda. And I think part of it, and we talked about this on radio, he's a narcissist, but he's a different kind of narcissist than Bill Clinton.
Well, this is an interesting distinction that you make, because we all know that Clinton was, but what's the distinction?
Well, I think Clinton was the kind of guy that wanted adulation. He was kind of a garden variety narcissist, low-level narcissist, where he wants to be loved. Now, I'm no psychologist. Robin of Berkeley, who writes a column, talks about it. I borrowed some of the stuff she gets. But this isn't actually, this part's not from her. I think Obama is a serious, sophisticated narcissist in the sense that he's got these grandiose ideas. He's messianic. He thinks that he's really going to fundamentally change America, and he's committed to doing it even if he's a one-term president. That's different from Clinton, who ran by the polls.
The way you wrote this in the book, because it did capture my attention, you said candidate Obama overtly cultivated a messianic image, and his advisors fully bought into the facade of this.
Well, and by the way, he wasn't defrauding us there. He truly believes he is a God with a small g. I mean, I actually think...
Is that why he's taking all these vacations? Is that why he can circumvent the will of the American people on health care, on immigration, on the mosque issue at Ground Zero?
Yeah, I actually think that he thinks he knows better, and so that he can cram it down our throats and do what is better and achieve this ideal society as liberals think they can through the auspices of government. But there's also the fact that he's tone deaf. In addition to not caring what we think, he's also tone deaf because he has no clue. After he passed Obama, after he crammed Obamacare through, he says, I'm going to continue to fight for the American people. Oh, you are? So 20% of the people support what you're doing, and you're fighting for us? Yeah. How oblivious. And he says, I haven't spoken enough. After Massachusetts Senate race, he got trounced, and he said, I got to talk more, and all he did was give speeches and had counterproductive effect.
I want to go back to the title, because I love the title of the book, and it's Crimes Against Liberty, an indictment of President Obama. And you break it into 3 separate sections. Section 1 is offenses against Americans, then it's offenses against American institutions, which I found interesting, and then the third part is offenses against America's general welfare and national security. What did you mean specifically by offenses against America's institutions?
Well, I'm saying he has no respect for the Constitution. It's a means to an end for him. He appoints judges who will rewrite the law. He will circumvent Congress when it comes to environmental policy by having his EPA declare carbon dioxide a toxic pollutant. He will go out and thwart the secured creditors' legal rights under the law, their rights under the law, and favor the unions who are unsecured creditors, give them 50% of the dollar, give the secured creditors 20%, and then slam and slander the lawyer and slander them as speculators when they're just trying to enforce their own rights under the law. He has no respect for the law.
Well, we're just touching the surface.
Bully. He's a bully.
This is a comprehensive. This is it. The Crimes Against Liberty. David Limbaugh is with us, and it's also, the subtitle is An Indictment of President Barack Obama. Now the top nonfiction already just came out today on Amazon, and it's in bookstores everywhere. David, we love having you. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
In my mind, this is America's election guide.
Thank you.
Read this
folks,
book.
Don't underestimate his capacity for mischief because you think he's a nice guy. He's harming America affirmatively.
All right, David Limbaugh, good to see you.
Thank you.
And we have plenty